Good afternoon, guys. I hope you're doing well on this first official day of the stay-at-home order. If you're interested in hearing my thoughts on the coronavirus and all that, you can check out the video I did yesterday. It's a longer video, about 20 minutes, but it's got some good information in it. Speaking of 20-minute videos, I've decided instead of doing longer videos for lessons each week, I'm going to do a series of smaller videos. And the goal is to post them each morning, with the exception of this video, each morning at about 7 a.m. And my thought is that by doing this, I can give you a quick little start to your day that is in God's Word. My hope is that you'll watch the video and then go read the chapter of the book or whatever I'm talking about, so that you can start your day off with the Bible and with God. So that's the hope, that's the goal. And so these videos are going to be short summaries or lessons from a book of the Bible or on a topic to help you start your day connected to God. So that being said, we're going to look at the book of Esther for the first series. And Esther is a very interesting book. Today I'm not going to go into the first chapter. I'm actually going to start by giving you some background information. So to start with, the book of Esther takes place during the reign of King Ahasuerus. We know that because he's mentioned in the book. Now, he reigned in Persia from 486 to 465 BC. And Esther takes place during about 10 years of his reign. Where it fits into the Bible is actually right in the middle of the book of Ezra is where Esther takes place. We know that because King Ahasuerus is the father of King Artaxerxes. And Artaxerxes is the one who sends Ezra, I believe in Ezra chapter 7, back to Jerusalem to institute the worship of God once again in Jerusalem. So that's when the book of Esther takes place. As for what does the book of Esther talk about? Well, it follows the story of a young girl named Esther, although her name in the Hebrew language was Hadassah, which means myrtle. Now, myrtle is a very beautiful flower that was, I believe it's common in the region. Don't quote me on that. Someone can look it up and correct me if I'm wrong. But it's this flowering plant that was pretty to look at. Her name in Persian is Esther, which comes from either one of two sources, either the Persian word for star, or it comes from the Babylonian god, and the Babylonians were conquered by the Persians. It comes from the Babylonian goddess Ishtar, who was the goddess of beauty and fertility, I believe. Whatever the origins of her name, I think her name is significant because it reflects who she was. She was, as you kind of pick up in the book, she was a very attractive woman, not just in physical appearance, but in character, it appears. So I think her Persian name is meant to kind of reflect that beauty of her character and of her physical appearance. Now, it follows Esther and her story from being an orphan girl raised by her cousin Mordecai to becoming queen of Persia and then using her position to save the Jewish people from genocide. So that's the basic story of Esther, but there's some very interesting things about the book of Esther within the context of the Bible. It just occurred to me, you guys can't see my hands. I'm doing hand motions down below the camera. Book of Esther within the context of the Bible. The first big thing to note is Esther is not quoted in any New Testament book. There are three other books of the Bible that are like that. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but there are several. It is one of four that is not quoted in the New Testament or even alluded to, which makes it kind of unique. On top of that, the book of Esther is one of 5 books that is part of the Megilloth. That's Megilloth, Megilloth. And these books are important to the Jewish culture and heritage because each one is read at a different holiday, specifically at a different holiday. And the book of Esther is read at the Jewish holiday Purim, which we'll talk about kind of towards the end of the book. The final thing that makes Esther very unique is that it doesn't mention God at all. Not once in the book of Esther do you see any mention of God and what he is doing. And so it leaves us with this question of, well, first of all, why is it part of the Bible? And I think you'll see why later. But second, why doesn't it mention God? Why isn't God mentioned in what's going on? And I think the answer is very simply this. It's meant to show the audience that even if God isn't mentioned, it's implied that he's at work. The implication is that God is working through these human circumstances to watch out and care for his people. It may not be specific, it may not be God working through some grand and mighty miracle, but God is at work, even through the mundane political situations of the current circumstances, of the current culture. And I think that's part of the big point to the book of Esther, that despite the circumstances, despite what's going on, God is still at work, even if you can't see it. So that's just a brief overview of the book of Esther, guys, giving you some background information. Tomorrow I'll be back with another video, and we'll dive into the first chapter. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep from the boredom. I know that's getting to me too. So, bye guys, I'll see you tomorrow.